A tenant advocate in Missouri thinks that they have a solution to why so many evictions are filed. They want to raise the fees that landlords are charged in order to reduce the number of evictions. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the great state of Missouri. Now, I invest in Missouri. I own 6 duplexes there. So, this sort of thing, when I read this article, it really does impact me personally. So, basically, there's a tenant advocate, and he believes that, oh, you know what? The reason why there's so many evictions being filed is because it's too cheap. It's too cheap. So I want to raise the price of the fees to file an eviction, and that will cause the number of evictions to go down. Well, here's the problem with that, right? First of all, we should never, ever be encouraging any kind of state bureaucracy or government agency to increase fees. That is idiotic, okay? Things already cost too much. And I'm glad that in the state of Missouri that it's inexpensive to file these eviction fees because it shouldn't cost us anything. We're already spending so much money in order to get this tenant up out of our property. And, I understand that they're just trying to cover their costs, and I'm glad that they're only charging what is necessary to actually get the whole process started rather than charging a ridiculous fee as a cash grab. Because in a lot of states, that's exactly what these fees are. They're just a cash grab. So, at least the state is doing that right. And I don't think that it's actually going to help either. That's the other problem. Even if you increase the fee, landlords are still going to need to evict people. But there will probably be more landlords who are willing to do sort of illegal things to get rid of tenants rather than filing a very expensive fee. So you could actually cause more problems by increasing that fee, in my opinion. Okay. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. You can leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. What do you think of this proposal by this tenant advocate to increase the fees that landlords are charged in order to file evictions? Do you think that would actually slow down the number of evictions, or do you think this is just a bunch of garbage? I think it's garbage. I think it won't work unless they increase the fees exponentially, and I really don't think that's going to happen. At least not in the state of Missouri. Okay, Missouri is a very pro landlord place. Okay, so we still have our property rights there, fortunately. And as soon as I feel like that's no longer the case, I'm selling all of my properties there and investing elsewhere. Oh man. So anyway, let's get into this article and let's see what it says. This article is coming from the MissouriIndependent.com, and it says Missouri eviction filing fees for landlords are among the lowest in the nation. Increasing filing fees reduces eviction rates, Eviction Lab researchers found in a recent study. And that is true, right? I do believe that, yeah, increasing that filing fee is going to reduce the number of evictions that are filed. But that's because landlords are going to use other means to be able to get those tenants out of their property rather than filing eviction, including possible illegal means. Okay, so anyway, let's get into the article and see what it says. New research shows Missouri has among the lowest court fees for landlords to file for eviction in the nation, and that raising filing fees would reduce eviction rates. In Missouri, the average cost for a landlord to file for eviction is $56 and is as low as $33 in some counties. The fees vary widely across the country and are set in often arbitrary ways, the researchers found, but with significant effects. Nationally, fees range from $15 to $350, and the average is $132. Well, how much do they think they should be set at? Okay. And, like if the paperwork, yeah, you have to have somebody in the government agency who's actually processing the paperwork. And you know what? That's not going to cost that much money. So if the state is charging, an outrageous amount of money to file this paperwork, that's just, it's not real. It's just a cash grab. It's just them trying to suck money out of a landlord. And you know what? This is what so many states, especially the leftist and the more progressive states, do. They charge all these fees, all these special licenses you have to have, all this paperwork you have to file. And where does all that money come from? It comes from the landlord's pocket, who then charges higher rents because of it. Okay, so part of the reason why rents are so expensive in some of these places is because they have so many fees that are so high. And believe me when I say, if landlords had to pay a lot more money in order to file eviction against tenants, well, that is going to be reflected in the rents. By raising filing fees at the local level, we could go a long way toward reducing eviction filings, Henry Gomori, lead researcher on the Eviction Lab study, said at a presentation last week. The researchers collected filing fee data from nearly every county across the country in 2018 and published their findings in the journal Housing Policy Debate last month. When filing fees are low, they found, landlords are more likely to file evictions serially against the same tenant as a way to collect late rent. The study called serial eviction filing a pernicious practice that marks tenants' records with an eviction filing, can increase their housing costs, and increases the power that landlords have over their tenants. Yeah, and you know what? Here's my issue with that, right? Did the tenant pay the rent late? Is that yes or no? Did you pay the rent late? Yes or no? Now, if you didn't pay your rent late, no eviction would be filed against you. So the tenant had to do something wrong in order for the eviction to be filed. And what is the reason that a landlord would want to file eviction immediately because of a late rent payment? Because the process takes some time to go through, and if the tenant is showing that they're unable to pay, well, the landlord wants to be able to get them out of the property as quickly as possible. So what this study and what these researchers are suggesting is that landlords are filing evictions, serially against the same tenants who are doing nothing wrong, and that is just complete garbage. Okay, the tenants are paying their rent late every single month that they are filing eviction against them, and fortunately, I mean that sometimes that's the thing that is necessary in order to get these tenants to pay is, oh, we see this eviction filing, we're going to be out on the street if we don't pay right now. Okay, we're going to be out on the street, so now we're going to pay. That is what is necessary. These businesses, they know what they're doing. Okay, these landlords, they know what they're doing. If you take away their ability to do that, the tenant could just, oh yeah, willy nilly, I'll pay whenever I feel like it. And this is what we see in so many places, right? With strong tenant protections, these tenants, they don't care. They don't care if they're a month behind on rent or months behind on rent. They will screw the landlord over in every single instance that they're possibly able to. So, I understand what they're saying, right? They're like, oh, well, you know what? They're filing these evictions serially. Like, you can't file an eviction serially unless the tenant is paying the rent late or not paying the rent at all serially. Okay, so I can't file eviction against the tenant 5 times unless they paid the rent late 5 times. I mean, it's pretty obvious that's exactly what's happening in these cases. And in those cases, is that the landlord's fault that the tenant is paying the rent late? No, it's the tenant's fault. Okay? Basically, what they're saying here is that they want the landlords to go easy on the tenants. Go easy on them. Okay? Yeah, they pay their rent late every single month. Yeah, sometimes they, don't pay you for months at a time, but don't evict them. We can end these evictions by you losing money, landlord. That's their plan. But when fees are high, landlords make use of the court system less often, Gomori said. Landlords then use eviction as a last resort method to remove tenants rather than a way to repeatedly collect rent. The effects of filing fees on eviction filings are larger in areas with a majority of black residents, too, and raising the fees would benefit them most. So, yeah, they go into the race thing again. Oh, my, yeah, see, it's a racial issue. No, let's just be honest here, okay? These things, they can affect people of any race, okay? So, when I look at it and they're like, oh, landlords, they use the court system less when the fees are high. Well, why is that? And what exactly are they doing differently? So, one, right, like I said before, they might be doing stuff to get the tenant out. They might be going up there, listen, I haven't filed eviction yet, but I'm going to. So if you don't pay me immediately, then I'm going to file this eviction. Go and talk to the tenant more, etc. Or they might just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna change the locks," and like small landlords who are frustrated, they might go and start doing illegal eviction stuff. I'm gonna change the locks. I'm gonna cut the power off. I'm gonna cut the water off. Stuff like that, right? Rather than filing eviction because it's so expensive that they can't handle it. But the filing fee for the eviction is not the main cost during the eviction process. It's not. And that's the problem with this study here. They seem to think that, oh, well, the main cost to landlords during the whole eviction thing is the filing fee. No, the main cost is our lost rent, okay? Followed up by, if we do evict the tenant, then there could be property damage. And if you're a landlord like me who hires an attorney to help with evictions, then paying your attorney is another of the major costs. And all three of those things are more expensive than the filing fee. Okay, so I don't exactly understand what they're talking about here, but I don't think that landlords operate their businesses in terms of running their business. I don't believe that the majority of landlords are just filing evictions for no reason. There's always a good reason, and most likely it's for non-payment of rent. So if they want to fix anything when it comes to evictions, they need to talk to these tenants, figure out why these tenants are not paying their rent. Do they just not make enough money to live in these properties? I mean, if that's the case, you need to move somewhere where you can afford to live. If you can't afford this rent over here, 1,500 a month, and you need to move somewhere that's a little bit cheaper, then you need to go. Okay, and let me find somebody for my property who can afford the rent.